Happy day, everyone. Yes, yes. We are here again to speak to you a little bit about co founders and how they can stay or get connected. I am so pleased to be here, and I will introduce myself in just a moment. But let me go ahead and let you meet my colleague here.
Yeah, my name is Tim. I'm the author of the Co-Founder Code, and I really just work with a ton of co-founders. My company right now is called Cherry Tree, and we have a couple different components. The main one is a twice a week newsletter that just gives you super quick actionable tips for your co-foundership. And I also do private coaching as well for co-founders who want something a little bit more engaged than a newsletter. So that's sort of who I am, and yeah.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Tim. And I am Erica Kese, Love Force with Mysterious Wisdom, celebrating life. Really excited to be collaborating with Tim. I am a Thrive strategist and have been working in business development centers recently. Actually, it's funny because the one that have been mentioning, I got esteemed to be their chief integrator. So working hand in hand with the founder and to move the mission forward. Excited about that. I think it has a lot to do with being here with you, Tim, and just kind of like talking about the energy of collaborating and being a co-founder of something that you both feel emotionally invested in into moving a mission forward.
Right.
So yes, I am the CEO of Your Goal Concierge and a licensed professional counselor, which is a very good to have here and to talk through some of the things that go on in co-foundership. And so Tim is an expert specifically with stories and evidence of him propelling people forward through relationships, and that I have tons of experience working with people, kind of clearing up what's going on with them individually so that they can be great in relationships. And so let's get right into it. Um, According to the latest data, up to 90% of startups fail. So I think that it's really important to state and to talk about this, and we keep bringing this up because they're failing, and it's a that's a large rate, like that's a large percentage,
Right.
and it has a lot to do probably with relationship. Go ahead, Tim.
No, yeah, no, I was agreeing that it's a large rate, and yeah, a lot of it comes down to the co-founder relationships, like you said.
Yeah, and so let's go straight into that next statistic that we have is the conflicts between co-founders are the reason why. And that is 65% of the 90% is the reason behind it is the conflicts with the co-founders. And so Tim and I have been chatting and talking about what is a co-founder. Okay, we've chatted about that. We've chatted about why it's important to talk about the things that's going on and really keep at the forefront that relationship. So you can go back and see our previous conversations that we've had. But just to give it for people who may view this one, can you just give us talk to us a little bit more, Tim, about those things? Just a brief synopsis of what are co-founders and why should we have this conversation?
Sure, I think what makes a co-founder is a very loaded question. Some people define it as a percentage of equity or a skill set or how early they joined the company, but it really comes down to emotional investment. And so that's something we're going to be talking quite a lot about because when you're emotionally invested, especially in a tense environment, and starting a company is definitely a tense environment, all of your qualities get exaggerated, both good and bad, right? And so if a lot of co-founders are maybe college roommates or they know each other from work or they have mutual friends, so they kind of know each other beforehand, but they've never seen each other in that type of environment, and that makes all the difference, right? And so this is also stuff that we're going to be talking quite a lot about, and it's just the sort of the process and progress of development of a co-founder, of someone becoming a co-founder and then becoming a better or different co-founder, depending on the type of scale and the sort of traction behind the company. And so sort of navigating that together is also pretty tricky.
Oh, definitely. It is tricky, especially if you have some misconceptions about what it is. That's why it's so important to talk about this, and that you brought up the point. And so I reiterated here that it's individuals who are emotionally invested, and they're also sharing their expertise and their energy, their time, their resources to move the mission forward. You know, like, for example, the difference is, if you go work somewhere, then they're paying you and you're not emotionally invested, you can leave it right there. You can just go home after work. It's not a big deal. But a co-founder is someone who thinks about it, worries about it, wants to make sure it's moving forward, will be always having in the forefront of their mind. They're going and making connections with other people in order to propel the project forward. They're investing their time. They're doing training on it. And most importantly, they're talking to the people who are co-founding with them to make sure that they're caring about their own well-being. So can you tell us, Tim, and so we love stories. Stories are amazing. Can you tell us a couple stories or things that you have experienced regarding working with some co-founders?
There's too many to pick from, but I think there's there's all sorts of co-founders that I work with, from AI to coffee to college founders to, third time founders and just sort of everybody in between. And I think only the best and the worst stories, stand out, right? So I'll tell you one of each. The best one is actually somebody that I talked to recently. Their names are Agree and Harrison, and they are the co-founders of Numi, which is a design agency. And I actually talked to them separately because of scheduling conflicts. Usually I talk to co-founders together, but one of them was traveling and whatnot. But so I talked to them separately, and what they said made it feel like they were in the same room because they were so aligned on what they were saying, you know. And they talked about things like how they met, how they became friends, how they, decided to leave the company together to start their own. They moved to Kenya, and then COVID happened, and how they navigated that. And throughout the whole time, the stuff they were saying wasn't so new. Like, I had met co-founders who had met at work. I had met co-founders who moved to different countries together. I'd met co-founders who navigated a pivot in their business together. Right? I'd met co-founders who started around COVID. So none of that was different. What was actually different is just how close they were. They referred to each other as brothers, even though they weren't, technically related. Um, and the synergy they had. One of them told me that even married couples go to them for relationship advice, and they there's just so many lessons to learn from them. One of the major ones is that they really admire each other. They have different skill sets. They do different things within the company. They're very competitive with each other, as friends are. But that's all rooted in just a genuine admiration and respect for each other. And I think that's what helps keep them going, especially when times are tough. And it's just a whole bunch of different lessons that I've written about in Cherry Tree. So that was a good
Wow.
example.
That's a
Yeah.
great example. It makes me think about, so my daughter and I, we
Mm.
always watch anime, and they and they have rivals, right?
Yeah.
Like, it's not, the rival is not their, they're not their enemy. It's just they're the person that's going to be the iron sharpen iron and make them move further, and to
Exactly.
pursue the same goal that they want. For example, I forget which. It's several of them that got rivals. I mean, I know
Yeah.
everybody know Naruto. I'm saying it right? I don't know, but he has Sasuke, who is his rival, right? And they're both trying to be. Oh, no, was Sasuke ever trying to be Hokage? Anyway, but they were both trying to be the best. All right,
Right.
and that's what we need. That's what you want That's what a co-founder relationship is. It's like you care about this person. You like if anything happens to them, you are concerned about it, because if they were not there, you would not feel motivated and dedicated to get to the outcome. Yes.
Yeah, yeah.
Listen, my daughter got me watching anime these days. I got anime. I always want to bring in anime.
Yeah, yeah, it's fun.
But yes. So I love the idea of admiring people. I love the and then I don't think that there's a lot of that going on in relationships, because when you think about just this is me coming in as a licensed professional counselor, you first admire your parents, and then guess what? Something happens in that relationship where they stop being the superhero. Like that's developmentally, that's what happens. You think of them as your superhero, you admire them, right? And then something happens in your development where you're questioning your teenager years and getting before your prefrontal lobe grows in, just questioning how they move. And so they stop being your hero, and you stop admiring them as much. It's the same thing, but you should admire them for that person to be to be on the same level with you, running next to you, not an authority over you. That's a co-founder. So I
Right.
really I love making sure that people understand the concepts that other people are saying. There are plenty of people who are saying the word co-founder, but they're not, but other people are not understanding what it is. So they don't even know that they're in a co-founder relationship. So I love to kind of really break these things down to help people really understand that anytime that you're emotionally invested in the mission of something, then you are a co-founder there. You're a true stakeholder, and really work on the relationship with the individuals who are all invested in it. So now tell me the bad story, Tim.
Oh yeah. There's a couple about okay. Let's see. This one's also recent. A co-founder. So they reached out to me, and I'm trying very hard to not to reveal names and identify information. But one of the co-founders reached out to me saying that they're in the middle of a crisis. So I said, okay, what's happening? And they said that their co-founder and them, they started the company about 2 years ago. They'd gotten about $500,000 in funding and some good traction as far as customers and product development. And they had, I think, 1 or 2 employees at the time. So things are picking up. And out of nowhere, their co-founder asked them to reduce their role from full-time to just 5 hours a week as an advisory role. And so the co-founder who reached out to me was very confused because they thought they had, they were going strong, they were going good, they were getting traction in all fronts. So they were very just blindsided by that, and they didn't know whether this was actually allowed. They had a complex equity and board structure. They had investors on their board, and so this co-founder wasn't even sure if the co-founder, who was the CEO, was actually legally entitled to make changes like this. So the co-founder talked to lawyers, talked to investors, mentors, couldn't really get a clear answer because of their weird equity structure. So they came to me. And I helped her through that as best as I could. But the outcome was that the previous CEO actually stepped down after a couple months of stalemate and arguing back and forth. And I forgot to mention that they were really good friends before this. They were college roommates. They, had traveled the world together, just like the co-founders of Numi, the good story, right? They had a lot of similarities, but the outcome was totally different because they didn't navigate the co-foundership in the right way. And in the end, one of the co-founders essentially left the company, and now they're in a weird legal equity dispute, and it's just not fun, and it's going to give them trouble when they want to fundraise again because investors are going to be scared off. But more importantly, they're not focused on building the product And that's right when they're getting a little bit of traction, right?
Mm.
So one co-founder tried to oust the other. They had a few months of stalemate, and then the opposite happened, where the original conspirator was actually ousted by the other co-founder. Right. And so that's just sucks, because not even just for a business, they were friends.
Right.
They were best friends. And I think that's the most heartbreaking part, because a lot of co-founders are very close to each other. Sometimes they're married even, or family, or at the very least, best friends. And so I think that's the worst part of it. Yes, it also affects the business. They had 1 or 2 employees, and I can't imagine. I
Oh
didn't
my
talk to
word.
Yeah, I didn't talk to either employee, but I can imagine it was pretty awkward when the co-founders aren't talking to each other, and so you don't know who to go to. I guess it's just not a good situation to be in. And I think if they had worked on their co-foundership at the beginning of the crisis or before the crisis, it wouldn't have gotten to a point where it was basically irreversible by the time it got to me.
Wow.
And they had so many similarities between the good story and the bad story, as far as circumstances and situations like that, but totally
Yeah.
different outcomes.
Yeah. It seems like a personality fit, a personality difference.
Maybe, but they were friends before, so their personalities were compatible, at least in that way, right? So it's
Or
tough.
maybe a change in thoughts about what they want.
Maybe.
Like
Yeah.
where go and so then that's a great way for us to segue into the thought about,
Yeah.
if you're in a co-founder relationship, you have to have the same values, vision, and mission. And that has to be something that's reiterated over and over again. Are we still going the same way? Are we still doing the same thing? And I think sometimes uh, I mean, and I'm not just co-founders, but I think anybody who is a leader needs to reiterate over and over and over again where they are. It seemed like, going back to the good story, was they were on the same page.
Hmm.
Like, they were truly on the same page, that you could read the page, and they were not in the same space, and they were saying the same thing. Like, they had it together.
Right.
Something made me think about, I wrote a book called Profit Focused Thriving Business, and one thing we ask people to do is to have a market dominated position, and that everyone that is affiliated with the organization is able to say that and know clearly what that is, and can, if you ask them, they can say, and everybody's saying the same thing.
Hmm.
Now, when things change, emotions change, then it has to be communicated, right? So I know, Tim, we're going to go ahead and share with you all what we would like to offer here with this collaboration between Tim and I. It's Cherry Tree. There's Tim's website. It's displayed there. And then here is my website, Your Goal Concierge. So this collaboration, as well as the affiliation that I use, is Startup Grind. And so Startup Grind, and this is where the platform is going to be housed, is Co-Founder Connect. It's a 6-week virtual cohort where Tim is going to take you through, really walking through this and the things that you're needing for you to stay connected with your co-founder, or to have the right skill set to build a co-founder relationship that is going to be mutually beneficial. And so the orientation for the Co-Founder Connect is October 15th. You all, it's coming up. And so you need to go ahead and get registered, and we'll tell you how to get registered soon. And so we're going to have meetings every Tuesday from 6 p.m. until 7 p.m. Central Standard Time. And then I always have Tim to tell us about the benefits.
Yeah, the benefits cover a lot of what sort of we've been going through today. I'll give you sort of stories and frameworks and situations that I've seen, or maybe that are famous in the news, current events, and we'll sort of break down why they can go one way or another, just like the stories today. But also, if you're in those situations, or a lot of these situations are sort of common, like disagreeing on product direction and whatnot. We'll give you just very tactical tips and sort of even questions to ask your co-founder, talking points and sort of mental models to approach these challenges, because they don't have to be, they don't make or break your company most of the time. A lot of these are just bricks in the foundation of your company. And so we'll give you everything from the very big philosophical and just hypothetical to literally what to do right now today, in this moment, and everything in between.
Absolutely wonderful. Really excited about this collaboration. It is something that is not being addressed, and it needs to be addressed because people walk into circumstances with conditions that will show up when there's conflict. That maybe it didn't show up when they were friends or when they were doing other things, but when a conflict, like something that you really are emotionally invested in, and there's a conflict happens, we got to really understand what are the behaviors that are going to happen relationally, what are the relational issues that are going to show up in trying to move the mission forward. And so you all, we are, listen, this opportunity is one that I'm just so excited to share it, because you have Tim, who has written the Co-Founder Code, has a newsletter, has years of experience coaching co-founders, also is a professor and works with new entrepreneurs, and has been an expert in this realm. And also he has been so, I would have to say, forward thinking in collaborating with me, Erica Kese, with your Goal Concierge, who's a licensed professional counselor, and me being the startup grind director of Oklahoma City and Nashville, to present this. And so you all are getting, a Cadillac worth of experience, okay? And so we're only going to be charging you for 6 weeks, $450. We're giving you $50 off if you pay for the whole 6 weeks, and $250 for the first 3 weeks. And you can go to bit.ly/co-founder connect. That's bit.ly/co-founder connect. And go ahead and register for your orientation and pay however you would like to, either the $450 for 6 weeks or $250 for the first 3, and then be billed for the additional 3 weeks. We are so pleased and happy that you all listened in. Please put in hashtag replay if you see this later. If you have any questions, please let us know. We would love to hear from you. And lastly, we are going to be coming back. Today's the 19th, coming back on October the 8th and October the 10th to do those final pushes to get our last cohort members in, so that you all can know about this. So please spread the word. If you know of some people who are going through some things with their co-founders, or people who are emotionally invested in their projects, please send them our way so that they can go through this cohort and get what they need in order to have the thriving relationships that they need. Tim, is there anything that you want to say before we leave?
No, I think you covered it all. You got all the information out there, all the pricing, all the dates for our next talks. So I'm just excited. This is
Yes,
so much
still
fun.
so excited about this.
Yeah.
I am so pleased by this project, and we're looking forward to it. And we're really passionate about this. We want to see you thrive in your relationships and your co-founderships so that you can scale and be multi-million-dollar businesses.
Oh,
All
yeah.
right, you all, create a thriving rest of your day, okay? Bye.